Okay, so good morning, Nashville. Sorry, I mean, guten Morgen, Darmstadt. Und my name's Andrew Melk. I'm the regional manager for Platform SH here in Germany, looking after Germany, Austria, Switzerland. So come by our booth afterwards and have a chat if you've got some time. I've been involved with the Drupal community since around 2009, where a guy called Horn Cologne, who you might have seen just now, invited me to go down to the Frostcon conference in Bonn, and I went and sat down next to a guy with spiky hair who turned to me and said, "Hi, my name's Dries." So yeah, it's almost 10 years that I've been doing this kind of stuff, helping people to deliver projects, first with Acquia and then with Platform SH. And in that time, what I've learned is that making software, building software, and running software is really, really hard work. When I started, all you needed was Notepad and maybe FTP, and you just whack it on a server, and there you had your website, and everyone was dead impressed that you knew how to do HTML. But you know, things have changed somewhat since then. Nowadays, of course, you know, you've got backend, you've got front end, you've got serverless, you've got stateless, you've got stateful, you've got all the different kind of things that you need to do to make your applications work. And at some point, you're thinking about infrastructure, you're thinking about where things need to go as you know, software moves to the edge, hosting moves to the edge, that kind of thing. And in fact, you're probably spending half your time, rather than actually developing software, you're actually working out how you're going to deploy, where you're going to deploy, what you're going to do with the various tools that make up you know, the complex thing that is a modern application. And that is just the way that we see things today. What that means is that you're actually slowing down how you actually have those release cycles. You stop being so adventurous and you stop taking risks in terms of saying, well, let's actually see what we can do here. And instead, you're thinking more about, well, I'm just going to have to decelerate here and make sure that I can just consolidate where I am. That's obviously not where we want to be, because when you're working for your infrastructure, that's not the place to be. You want to have your infrastructure working for you. That's really where we've got to with Platform SH, is that, you know, like we want to have people able to choose the tools they want to use. So to very simply define what they're going to use to mix and match the kind of various stacks that they want to use, and to have the power to do that in a really simple, straightforward way, so that you can try stuff out and deploy any day, even on Friday, even after your first beer. So that's really where we're coming from, and that's really the vision that we want to have. We want to be a software platform, so Platform SH as a software platform that doesn't get in between you and your application, that's simple and powerful, and that gives you the confidence to do what you're best at, which is making applications and not messing around with all sorts of other stuff that should be underneath that layer. So if you've got time, come by the booth. We've got some big things coming up, some really exciting stuff is happening in the next few months with Platform SH. We've also got T-shirts and rockets and all sorts of other things, and it would be great to see you. And with that, I'd like to hand over to the founder of the project, Dries.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Is this on? Yeah. Yeah, a lot has changed since 10 years ago when I first met you. Obviously, technology changed. I remember starting with Notepad and, you know, FTP, and I think I started on Windows 3.11 or something, moved to Linux. So yeah, lots of technology changes, but the one thing that didn't change is my spiky hair. All right, so we have a lot to cover in this 1-hour session. I'm very excited overall, and I hope to sort of transfer some of that excitement about all the things happening in the Drupal project. I was recently on vacation, and as vacations go, they give you a little bit more time to think and to reflect. And I was sort of thinking about, why are we here? Why are we all here, actually, in this very venue? And for me, the answer was, I want to build software that people truly love. And I think that's probably true for most people in this room, right? Otherwise, I don't think he would come all the way to Darmstadt to talk about Drupal for a week. And I think we want to build a Drupal that we ourselves love, that you love in your day-to-day when you're building sites. But I think we also want to build a Drupal that not only you love, but it is also loved by the people that you build those websites for your customers, if you will, and even for your customers' customers, right? And to me, that feels really great. Like, it feels great when we build products that are sort of universally loved, if you will, by the people that we build them for. And then I kind of realized that this goes straight to our DNA, if you will. If you think about the Drupal principles, principle 1 is that impact gives purpose. And when I was working on these principles, I actually considered calling this principle 0, because I thought it was so important. And there is no doubt that this is true for me personally. Seeing how Drupal helps others really gives meaning to my own work. I travel around the world, I meet thousands of Drupal people, and have the most amazing stories about how they're impacted by Drupal, what Drupal has allowed them to do, or how Drupal has helped them drive change. So this idea that these thousands of people, or hundreds of thousands of people really, that they rely on Drupal, really gives me a lot of energy. And that's true for me, but I know from talking to a lot of you that that is also true for many of you, right? And so we want to build a Drupal that people love. The good news is that we have a strategy. We want to climb that mountain, point that flag, and build a Drupal that people love. And so we've been working on this. We have these different tracks. You can see them on the screen, from improving Drupal for content creators to improving Drupal for evaluators to improving Drupal for developers, and then also to promote that great work that we're doing, right? So these are sort of the high-level tracks, the strategy. And for each of those tracks, we actually have a roadmap. Here's all of the initiatives, the official core initiatives sort of aligned with these 4 tracks. And then for each of these boxes, for each of these initiatives, we actually have detailed plans on Drupal.org. And the great thing is that we're making progress on these. We're actually moving the needle. We're making rapid progress on moving up that hill, up that mountain. And so today, that's what I want to talk about. So I want to give you first sort of a progress update, a state of Drupal and the progress on the initiatives that we have. And there's a lot to cover there. But then also want to talk a little bit more about how we can climb even higher. What else is there to do? What is next? And so I want to talk about that as well. So I'll start with the progress update, which I call historically the state of Drupal. So as you probably all know, we released Drupal 8.6 1 week ago. And it's a great release, yes. A lot of people helped with that release. And what was also great about it is that it was released on time. Yeah. And which still feels really good every time that happens after years and years of Drupal 8. And it was released on time, just like all of the other Drupal 8 releases the past 3 years. You can see this on this little chart. Now, if you compare that with the history of Drupal releases, going all the way back to 2001, you can see that on the left, it's kind of messy and unpredictable. And on the right, it's starting to become sort of like this beautiful, consistent pattern, right? And it really speaks to the cadence and the rhythm that we've started to develop in Drupal 8. And it's something that I'm personally very proud of. Not that I've personally done that work, but I'm proud of the fact that we as a community have been able to achieve that cadence or rhythm. And thinking about that, it really feels that release cadence has kind of given Drupal its heartbeat back, or our heartbeat got stronger. It gives a rhythm, and that rhythm really helps our users, organizations using Drupal to plan. It helps contributors that want to help contribute to Drupal plan as well. And that, when you do that well, that really creates momentum and energy. And I really feel that it's starting to come out. And it's a great thing to be part of, frankly, like a project that has that rhythm and that cadence. You can see the effect of that in a lot of different places. You know, we have more and more people contributing to Drupal 8. Keeps increasing year over year. We have more and more Drupal 8 modules that are becoming stable, but 46% more stable modules compared to a year ago, which is pretty good. But maybe most importantly, you can see that sort of in the steady progress that each of the core initiatives have been making over the last few years. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I'm not sure if you remember, but about 1 year ago, we had 7 core initiatives. You can see them on the screen. And then about 6 months ago, at DrupalCon Nashville, I announced 5 more, right? And at the time, we felt like 7, that's a lot. We had a lot of conversations. Are we doing too much? How do we do this? And then we launched 5 more. And so now we have 12 initiatives total, which is a lot of different things to track and make progress on. Well, let me give you an update on some of these initiatives, because the progress that we're making is really encouraging. So first I want to talk a little bit about this first track, which is to improve Drupal for content creators. This is a very important track because the expectations of content creators have changed. Right? 10 years ago, it was fine if you could copy-paste something in a text field, hit submit, and that was it. Today, you know, content creators, they spend sometimes 8 hours a day using Drupal, right? And so they want Drupal to be easy to use. They want WYSIWYG. They want like a preview first kind of approach. They want drag and drop, because often these people are less technical or even non-technical. Yet, they want a lot of capabilities. It's not like they want a dumbed down tool. No, they want the power that they need to do their job effectively, but do it in a simple and easy to use way. And as a result, content creators have also become a key decision maker in the CMS selection process, which wasn't the case 5 years ago. Techies would decide on what CMS to use. Today, you still have to convince a technical buyer, but very often you also have to convince the non-technical buyer, the business persona, the content creator, these kinds of people. And so obviously we've heard this loud and clear. I hope that isn't anything new to any of you in this audience. But we made it a priority several years ago to start working on this. And so the 4 initiatives that I want to talk about real quick are these 4. And the best way to talk about it is actually to show you versus to talk about it. And so created a video, and in the video you'll see Sam Mortensen demo these 4 initiatives that you saw on the screen. And these are all features that shipped with 8.6. Some are stable, some are experimental, but they're all in 8.6, the way that we'll show them. So here goes the video.
Let's say I work for a food magazine called Umami, and we just found out that we're in the final voting round of the BBC Viewer's Choice Award. We know that we're going to get a lot of new traffic from the BBC, and want to make sure that our homepage is catered to those new users. My boss gave me this mock-up of what they'd like the homepage to look like. You can see the hero text is different, and they want a different background image. Below that, there's a 2-column section. On the left side, there's a YouTube video, and on the right side, there's a promotional ad. Let's see how Drupal enables me to implement this mockup. I built the homepage with Layout Builder, which is a new module in Drupal core. With Layout Builder, I can click the Layout tab, and then make edits to the page in line. I'm going to edit the hero, start with the title, update the link, and finally swap out the background image. This field uses the media library, another new module in core. The media library allows users to quickly create and reuse media inline. I'm going to remove the pre-existing media and upload a new image. Now that the media item has been created, I can update the hero and see my changes in line. Now I need to implement that 2-column section below the hero. Layout Builder allows you to embed sections within a page. You can think of sections as layouts you can embed within layouts. I'm going to add a section with 2 columns. First, I'll embed the YouTube video. I'm going to use the media library for this. I know that I want a video, so I'll sort the view by remote videos and decide which one I want embedded. Now you can see the YouTube video in line. On the right side, I'll embed the promotional ad, which I made beforehand. And there we go. Now this matches the mockup, but I've realized that I would rather have the promo on the left side and the video on the right side. To do that, I'll just drag and drop the promo and the video. Now I'm ready to save my layout. I'll scroll to the top of the page and click Save Layout. Now we've updated the homepage to match the mockups. It's pretty cool. As a part of this campaign, we've also created an article that highlights the voting competition. We don't have the results of the voting competition yet, but if we win, we want the article to reflect that. I'm going to use a new core module called Workspaces to stage my content changes. Workspaces allows content editors to work on a copy of your site that is not live, and when they're ready, publish multiple pieces of content at once. By default, core ships with 2 workspaces: Stage for pending content and Live for publicly visible content. We're going to switch to the Stage workspace. And now that I'm there in the Stage workspace, I can make edits to the article without affecting the live site. Let's update the article as if we've already won the competition. I'll update the body as well. And save the article. The article has been updated and is staged to go live. Let's fast forward in time to when the competition is complete and deploy the Stage workspace. Deploying the workspace will publish all my content changes live. Now that the Stage workspace is deployed, let's switch to the Live workspace to see what the site looks like. Alright, now my homepage has been updated with Layout Builder, Media, and Workspaces. Thanks for watching the demo. I hope you're as excited to use Drupal 8.6 as I am.
Yeah. I think this is a really big deal. I really do believe this is a big deal. It just makes Drupal so much more easy to use and so much more powerful too, right? It really combines these 2 things. And so the things that you saw, they're actually long-running initiatives. We've been working on these things for so long. We had to do so much work under the hood before we could even start building the individual capabilities of each of these initiatives. And what's especially exciting too is as you saw in this demo, these things are finally starting to work not individually, but also together, right? Like these different initiatives are sort of coming together to create a very exciting new experience for site builders. And obviously we have more work to do. Not all of these things are stable. They're still experimental, but you can see the trajectory that we're on and the progress that we're making. So very, very exciting. So this is what you just saw, but there's also more that we're doing, right? We want to go higher on this mountain, so to speak. And so next I want to talk a little bit about 3 other initiatives, and they're kind of combined as well, which is really the Administration UI initiative, as well as the JavaScript Modernization initiative and the API First initiatives. And these are also longer-term initiatives. And in fact, we've been working on these for quite some time. The JavaScript Modernization initiative, sort of has its first, 1-year anniversary, and yet somehow I haven't talked about those initiatives all that much. And there's some mystery around these initiatives too, and maybe some tension around these initiatives too. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about these initiatives and explain you what we're trying to do. At a high level, I would say we have sort of three goals with these initiatives. One, we want to improve the administration experience in Drupal. And as we're improving the administration experience, we also want to modernize sort of the technology. We want to use web services, we want to use JavaScript, and in doing so, sort of as another side effect of that, if you will, we want to help build bridges with the JavaScript community, right? And so it's important work, not just because we're making Drupal easier to use by site builders and administrators, but we're also doing a very important refresh, if you will, of some of the underlying technology along the way. So first I want to talk a little bit about the first goal. And so when you do these kinds of improvements, usability improvements, it's really important that you know what to improve and how to improve it. And historically, Drupal hasn't always done a lot of user research. We've just kind of, went for it often. Not always, but often. And so what we're doing this time is a little bit different. So Suzanne, we can see on this slide, she's actually part of a small team of people that is doing user research. And they're interviewing content creators and authors and site builders with the goal to really learn about their pain points and then to take these lessons learned into the UI design of this initiative. And so I'm going to let Suzanne explain that a little bit more.
Over the last 10 years that I've been building websites for people, people's expectations about what they can do as content editors or site managers has changed a lot. People now expect to be able to build pages themselves. They expect a lot more flexibility. They expect to be able to do a lot more in terms of changing the marketing message of their website with changes to interface text and visuals. I think that's why we see the rise in popularity of tools like paragraphs, panels, and now the layout builder. People are really excited about this. And I think that's because there's an expectation amongst content editors in general that they'll have full control over their site. Obviously there's a lot of different people who use the Drupal admin UI. We decided we should focus on content editors because it's a group of users that are often overlooked and not so involved in the community. You don't usually see a lot of content editors hanging around code sprints or Drupal events. So far we've done a survey and gotten back about 250 responses. And we're going to do some user testing with that. So take the things that people found most challenging and some of the tasks that content editors do, and then like a comparative test with some other CMSs, and also a test with the new wireframes that Christina's working on for the visual improvements to the admin UI. So we're starting off with things that are obvious based on the survey. We'll test the content editing page, the content overview page, and media management. Specific things like just testing how people edit a page. A huge challenge for content editors is also page building tools like, the layout builder. So we want to look at tools like that in other CMSs, and then hopefully that can inform some of the work being done on the layout builder. And then we'll also be asking people what they think we should test. So one of the challenges is that running user testing involves having a platform on which to test wireframes, but also other content management systems. And so we're looking for ideas about how to do that efficiently so we can scale it and get lots of people involved in these user tests. If you have ideas about how we can do that, please come help us. We want to be sharing information as we go. So we're trying to publish blog posts at every step, so that we can keep people up to date with findings and then hopefully get input from them as well as to what they would be interested in doing a study about.
So thank you, Suzanne, and the rest of the team. If you want to talk about this more, there's a BOF, I believe it's tomorrow on Thursday, and then there's also a code sprint around this on Friday. So if you want to help, that's where to go. Not sure if you saw, but in the results of the things that they've learned so far, one of the negatives, I should say, actually I think it was the topmost one, is that the Drupal 7 admin team looks a little bit dated. And I've heard this myself. it really just turns people off. Like they look at Drupal and they get into the admin UI and it looks a little bit dated. And so in parallel, Christina Chimilas has been working on sort of a refresh of the Drupal 7 admin team. Here you can see sort of a design. You can see it looks a little bit more fresh. And so the goal of this is to be a short-term initiative to kind of give Drupal sort of a fresh coat of paint, if you will, so that it looks more exciting and welcoming, to new people. And a longer term, Christina is also working on sort of a more, dramatic or drastic or fundamental redesign of the admin experience. And she's currently working on wireframes for that, but we're not quite ready to show these, but very excited about the work that's going on. Right? And so we're doing research, we're doing design, we're rethinking how everything works. And so the second piece is not about what are we doing, but more about how we're doing this, right? And so I want to talk a little bit more about the how-to. And so what we've decided to do, we've decided this about a year ago, is to build this new administration UI as a React application. Right? And just to be really clear, because there's often confusion about this, we're just talking about the administration UI, not the front end, not the visitor-facing or user-facing front end of a Drupal site. So what that means is you can still use Twig to build your regular themes. You can still use any JavaScript framework of choice if you want to build a decoupled Drupal application. But for the backend piece, we decided to use React. What's interesting about that is that we can actually leverage all of the work that we've been doing on the API First initiative, right? So we've been working on improving Drupal's web services APIs. And so we've decided to use JSON API for the communication between Drupal and the React application, which is very exciting because JSON API module has advanced quite a bit, and we were hoping to put it into Drupal 8.6, but it didn't quite make it, and so we're targeting 8.7 now. So hopefully JSON API module will be in the next version of Drupal and will be able to be leveraged by this initiative. Meanwhile, a team of people have been working on a prototype application for this new administration UI. And they've actually made a lot of great progress. And so what I wanted to do next is show you a quick video of what they have so far.
We've been working on modernizing Drupal's administration UI, and we're really excited to show you what we've built so far. In this demo, we're using material design components as the designs created by the Drupal community aren't quite ready to be implemented yet. I'm currently using the new admin UI on Drupal's demo food magazine website Umami. Here's the content listing. Changing pages happens quickly because there's no page load when moving to the next page. Our food magazine is open for guest recipes, and it seems like there's some spam we should delete. I'll first filter the listing to only include recipes. Again, the results appear immediately because there's no separate page load. Let's select all of the spam content and delete it. The confirmation dialog doesn't require a server request, and so it appears immediately. All the spam content has been deleted now. Next, let's create some new content. Let's create a new article. The content form is generated dynamically based on field configurations in the backend. So just like before, whenever changes are made to the data structure, they're immediately visible on the admin UI. Under the hood, we're currently using Schemata and OpenAPI for generating this form. Tagging has also been improved. And you can upload multiple files simultaneously. We were able to implement this thanks to Drupal core REST file upload endpoint, which was introduced in Drupal 8.6. We've also added auto-saving of changes. If you get disrupted whilst creating or editing content, the application suggests retrieving the changes when you get back to the form. Let's navigate back to the content listing to make sure that my colleague didn't already create this article. Seems like the content wasn't created yet, so we can go ahead and create it. My changes have been retrieved, and now we can save the article. Here's the created content. We've implemented the new UI in a way that pages can be replaced gradually. See how it fell back to 7 when I navigated to a non-supported page.
So yeah. Really, 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 really nice. Thanks for all the hard work on that initiative. Excited about where that's heading. In the process of building this, actually, we had to do a lot of, I call it cleanup or, advancements to Drupal's JavaScript support. So we added things like Nightwatch, JavaScript-based testing to core. We added Prettier, which is a code formatter to Drupal 8.6. So a lot of things are happening sort of, in preparation of that or to facilitate this kind of work. So, and then obviously, on top of that, we would implement these new designs that we're working on separately. So the designs that you saw now, while they look good, they use material design from Google, right? So they don't use our own branding, not our own look and feel. So the idea would be to bring in our own design on top of this sort of wireframe style prototype. So pretty exciting. And so that's really what we're trying to do. I personally think this will mean a lot to people. I think this will be a big change and a very positive change. And no one actually explains that better than Sally Young, who's one of the initiative coordinators on this. And so I'm going to let her talk for a few minutes as well.
I'm Sally Young. I live in London. I'm one of the initiative coordinators for the Admin UI and JavaScript Modernization Initiative. And we are trying to reimagine your content authoring experience and make your site administration way cooler. It's funny the way around we did it. We decided to adopt React into Drupal back in DrupalCon Vienna. And then after that, we decided what we were going to build with it. So we always knew we wanted to do it to improve the administration interface. So that wasn't sort of in question. And so we tried a few experiments for what we wanted to do. We definitely wanted the experience of writing and maintaining JavaScript within Drupal to feel more modern. One of the things I'm most proud of that the initiative achieved was, at the time of this recording, a few days ago, we committed something that lets you do drag and drop multi-file upload, which is something that I don't think you can do with Drupal core out of the box right now. So that's an improvement, and we were really happy that we got that to work. I really want Drupal to have a modern administration interface that impresses people, because I think when people first install Drupal, they don't necessarily see it for what it is, and it has amazing content modeling tools, and it can handle workflows and revisions and translations, and it's, in my opinion, way ahead of many other CMSs when it comes to these things. They just can't even get near what Drupal does. But I think people sometimes look at it and they're like, oh, it's an old PHP project, and look at this admin theme, it doesn't look new and cool, and so they might write it off straight away. So the explosion of being able to build these applications in modern browsers has led people to expect really snappy response times from all the things they're trying to do. So, they're not waiting for all these round trips to happen. They expect nice, clean editing interfaces. It's not that Drupal isn't powerful or can't do all the things that they need to do. It's just that as you're clicking around, you might think it's just not as powerful because it's not responding just like this. I think people are also just really wanting to work with the JavaScript ecosystem. There's loads and loads of people out there. They really enjoy working on CMSs, but they're also really excited about working on these front-end things. So I want to keep them interested in working with Drupal. We've ended up doing two things with this initiative. One side of it is we have designers who are working on making everything look great, which is stuff I can't do. And then the other side is we're building a kind of decoupled application that will power all of this, and it will look very much like JavaScript applications you will see around the web. So we're trying to make it quite familiar to existing JavaScript developers. But yeah, it's going really well. We're trying out using some more modern tools. So we're on GitHub, and that's been really successful as well, because I find people have been able to drop into the project and use workflows that they're already used to using, which is really nice. People's contributions are really important, even if they're not code. And if you want to get involved in our initiative, there is a page on Drupal.org. I think if you just Google admin UI and JS Initiative, it will come up. And we're in #JavaScript on Drupal Slack, and we have a meeting every Monday, and it's text only. So it's really accessible for people to join in and catch up with. And then there's our GitHub repo, which has all of our issues and code in there as well.
Yeah, game-changing stuff. Thank you, Sally, and the rest of the team. So that was a quick update. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this one because I haven't talked about it before, so I felt it was useful to bring everybody up to speed a little bit more, if you weren't already. So next, let's talk a little bit about the Evaluator Experience, right, which we talked about in Nashville as well. And this really touches upon these two initiatives, the documentation and out-of-the-box experience. And you may remember this video that I played in DrupalCon Nashville. It basically shows the installation process for somebody that's new to Drupal, right? And what it takes to get Drupal installed, just to be able to test it and see what it actually does. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I've already done that, but the end result of this experiment was that basically it took more than 20 clicks and more than 15 minutes to get Drupal installed, to even try it. And so Matthew Grasmick, who did this work, and we did this research, basically gave up. So it actually took many more clicks and many more minutes than what was actually shown. And then Matthew also benchmarked it to some of the other open source players. And you can see that they're much faster and easier to get installed. And so we made this a focus since Nashville, which is only 6 months ago, right? And so we've been really focused on how can we fix this. Obviously, the Umami demo profile got stable in Drupal 8.6, which is really exciting. You've already seen bits and pieces of that in the previous videos, but it looks really great, right? And it looks really beautiful, and people can actually see Drupal in action with some content instead of getting this blank canvas that people have had the last 17, 18 years. So a big win for us. Secondly, we also focused on improving the documentation on Drupal.org. A lot of this was just the documentation being confusing or overwhelming, or there being too many options for documentation. And so really good work has been done to streamline that. And so documentation now starts with a getting started guide at the top. There's also documentation has also been reclassified between official documentation and community guides, as an example, where official documentation is actually now maintained under version control with more processes, so it's really solid. And then the community documentation, which is still very important, is a little bit more free-form, sort of wiki-style documentation, right? And so by creating these two categories of documentation, we can have better process around them. Now we've also split out things like Drupal 7 and Drupal 8 documentation, which was all mingled together. And so a lot of cleanup has happened on the documentation. And Matthew Grasmick, together with the Drupal Association and many others, have done tremendous work on this. And you can read more about all of the nitty-gritty details in Matthew's blog post if you're interested in that. And then last but not least, we also changed the download experience. And we added a quick start command to Drupal 8.6, which is another new feature. And so what do I mean by that? Well, if you go to the download page on Drupal.org, you actually have a new page. It's much more instructive for people that are new to Drupal. You can download Drupal in one click, But if you're new to Drupal, it will also guide you to this getting started official guide that I mentioned, 2 slides ago. And on that guide, there's very prescribed or prescriptive documentation on how to get started, and how to not just get started, but try Drupal. And there's literally 2 commands you have to copy-paste to get Drupal up and running on your local host. And these 2 commands do everything. They download Drupal, they unpack or decompress Drupal, they install Drupal, and you only need PHP, so you don't have to mess around with databases or web servers or containers. All you need is PHP. And then once it's installed, it will actually launch you into the admin UI in the new beautifully designed Umami demo profile. And so the whole experience is pretty awesome. And I have a quick video about that as well. So let's have a look. That's it. Yeah. It's so awesome. When I first saw this video, I'm like, holy smokes, what took us 18 years? And if you actually look at the data, it now takes 3 clicks and 1 minute and 27 seconds. Yeah. So awesome. Which, in fact, beats all of the others. Yeah. There you go. I think it just goes to show when we focus on something, we can get a lot of stuff done in 6 months or less, right? And so, yeah. So huge thank you to all the people that were involved with this. It's a very big win for our community. All right, so next, I want to talk a little bit more about the sort of the developer experience and the many things that we're doing to make Drupal easier for developers. Now, there's a lot of initiatives here, and we're actually making great progress on all of them. 8.6 made progress on all of these. For example, Migrate is now stable, except for multilingual sites, which is pretty close. Composer initiative has a roadmap now, which is being vetted and approved, which is very exciting. The config management initiative has a roadmap, and they've actually already sort of made a head start, I guess, with Drupal 8.6, because in 8.6, you can now install Drupal from pre-existing configurations. So not only do they have a roadmap, they're already achieving things that we're shipping. And so I'd love to talk about these initiatives more, but I don't have the time today, and I want to give them the time that they deserve. And so what I'll be doing is I'll be writing about it on my blog, and I'll talk about it in future keynotes because it's really important. But there's one initiative that I do want to talk a little bit more about, which is the Security LTS initiative that I also mentioned, DrupalCon Nashville. And so up until now, you probably all know this, whenever we release a minor version of Drupal, users, site owners, teams have basically 1 month to upgrade before they lose like security support, right? And so because we make additions and changes in these minor releases, we add capabilities, we make API changes even though there's backwards compatibility. Because of these changes, site owners still need to test these upgrades, right? They need to prepare for it, they need to test them before they deploy these updates. And what we've heard loud and clear is that 4 weeks can be a real challenge for organizations to upgrade their sites. Sometimes that 4-week window is just sort of inconveniently timed as well for them. Like, let's say you're the World Cup website and, you know, one of these releases comes out in the middle of the World Cup. They don't want to do that, right? They don't want to do their update at that point in time. And so we've heard loud and clear that site owners want more time. And so going forward, we have now extended the security support, and everybody has 6 months to upgrade their sites between minor versions, which effectively means that minor releases are supported for 12 months. And so instead of 4 weeks, we now have 6 months. And I think it's very exciting as well. There's a few gotchas, but I'll write a blog post about this in the next couple of days to explain some of the gotchas. Like if you're on 8.5, for example, you'll have to upgrade to a new version of 8.5 once we release it to get the proper security notifications, because you know, we had to build some new things, both in Drupal as well as on D.O to do security notifications as well. And some of these changes will have to get backported to Drupal 8.5. So, but we're doing it. Just the notifications might be slightly off still, but will get fixed really soon. And so great that we've made all of this progress and all of these initiatives. And for each of those initiatives, we also have next steps. I won't go over the details here, but you can read about them more on the Drupal core roadmap, and that's also where you can get involved with these initiatives if you want. The other track is the Promote Drupal initiative. It's great that we're making all this progress. It's great that we're doing all this work, but we also have to share it with the world. We need to change people's mindset about Drupal, because a lot of people, they're sort of stuck with the notion of Drupal, you know, 5 years ago or, you know, 10 years ago. And so they don't necessarily know about all of the great things that are happening. And so in Nashville, we announced the Promote Drupal initiative, and the goal was to raise $100,000. And we would use that money to coordinate marketing efforts around Drupal. The Drupal agencies have asked for this. You know, all of them ask for this. The biggest thing that they need is help marketing Drupal. And so that's what we're trying to do with this initiative. We haven't raised the full $100,000, but we raised $7,000 to $8,000. And despite not hitting that goal, we've decided to move forward with that initiative as well. And so we now have a person in place that will help coordinate the marketing efforts around Drupal. And that single person, Rebecca, won't be able to do everything herself, right? So the goal is really for all of us to help and for Rebecca to coordinate that work. So we started that initiative, as I said, and we kind of hit the ground running with that as well. When Drupal 8.6 was released, a press release was created, and the press release was translated into multiple languages, which is something that we haven't done historically. And so it's a great first step. Obviously, in case you're wondering, you know, is one press release all we got with our $7,000 to $8,000 in 6 months of time? The answer is no. This is just the first step. There's a lot of other things underway. The team is working on a collaboration space. So all the people interested in Drupal marketing can come together and collaborate on Drupal.org. They're working on a brand book for Drupal. They're working on a pitch deck so that everybody can start from a template to pitch Drupal if you need that. And so a lot of great work is underway, and I hope that you'll start seeing more of these things come out in the future. So that's a little bit about Promote Drupal. Important work, first steps being taken, and more to come. I want to transfer to the second piece of the keynote, which is how do we climb higher? And so one of the things I want to cover next is Drupal 7, Drupal 8, Drupal 9, and give you a little bit more specifics about when Drupal 9 will be released, I know, and how long Drupal 7 and Drupal 8 will be supported for. And we don't have all the details figured out, but I wanted to give you an update because I think it's important information to start planning. And then going forward, we'll start to give you more specifics and as we figure out a lot of these details. So let's start with Drupal 8. As you probably know, Drupal 8 depends on external components more so than Drupal 7 does. And our biggest dependency is probably Symfony. We're currently using Symfony 3. And the Symfony roadmap has Symfony 3 end of life by November 2021, right? And so that's something that we need to obviously take into account. And so what that means is, to keep Drupal secure, we need to move to Symfony 4 or Symfony 5, or maybe both at the same time. But moving to a new version, a major version of Symfony, will mean that we have to release Drupal 9, right? Because that will break backwards, compatibly. It will change APIs, it will affect contributed modules, all of these things. And so unfortunately, we can't keep making these Drupal 8 releases forever, even though it's working really well. And at some point, we have to end of life Drupal 8, because Symfony 3, its dependency, will be end of life. And so right now, we're thinking that Drupal 8 will have to be end of life by November 2021. All right? And so what that means is, obviously, that we need to release Drupal 9 somewhere in between. Somewhere between today and November 2021. Obviously, it's not going to be today. But it's also not going to be November 2021, because we want to give people time to upgrade from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9. So we need to work backwards from that end of life date. And so if you say, we want to give people 1 year to update, we would need to ship Drupal 9, this is hard math, by November 2020, right? And so some of you may be like, what? We only have 1 year to upgrade from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9? That's right. You probably will only have 1 year, or roughly 1 year. But because of the changes that we've made, because of the way we do release management and manage compatibility, that should be enough. All you need to do is stay current with the minor versions of Drupal 8 and use modules that don't use deprecated APIs. And if you do that, the upgrade will be really easy, or should be really easy. All right, so it's a completely different world compared to going from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. You can read more about that online as well. Now, as I said, we can't release Drupal 9 today or tomorrow. And so in talking with the core committers and security team and other people, it's clear that we'll need at least 1 year to prepare for Drupal 9. We need to actually adopt Symfony 4 or Symfony 5. We actually have to drop the deprecated APIs that we have in Drupal 8. And we have to do a couple of other things. And these things will take time. We think it's going to take a year. So basically what we're thinking is that Drupal 9 will be released in 2020. All right? And so obviously that's a 1 year range. And we need to do more planning to figure out all of the details. And once we have that, we'll be able to provide a little bit more precision about when exactly Drupal 9 will be released. What that also means is that we'll have a Drupal 8.7 and a Drupal 8.8. Maybe we'll have a Drupal 8.9. We don't know yet. Okay? So what about Drupal 7? Historically, Drupal 7 would go end of life when Drupal 9 is released, because our official policy is to support 2 major versions of Drupal. So this is what we've done all along. And so because quite a few people are still on Drupal 7, because we're still working on the migration path for multilingual sites, we decided to change that, right? And we decided that we would extend the support of Drupal 7, give you more time on Drupal 7, and move that also to November 2021. All right? In addition to that, if you still need more time, there will be a commercial long-term LTS program, just like we have with Drupal 6. A program is still running. It's very valuable for people that need to go beyond that. But what this means is the community will support Drupal 7 for at least another 3 years, right? That's what this graph says. So you have at least 3 years, possibly more. What's also exciting to me, you may ask, like, why are these things aligning? It's kind of interesting because what it could mean is that at that point in time, everybody is sort of on the same version of Drupal 9. And so we don't have to manage like these multiple branches and widely different versions of Drupal. which really simplifies things and really allows people to take advantage of the innovation going on in, in Drupal. So I think it's pretty exciting. Obviously, the devil is in the details. Later today, I will publish this blog post. It's not up. Can't multitask that well. But I'll hit publish probably in an hour for this blog post where you can find out all of the details. So, and so it also means we really have to start doing some planning, right? I know some planning is already underway, but hopefully we can use this week to figure things out, like what about, should we adopt Symfony 4 or Symfony 5, or should we also adopt Twig 2.x versus Twig 1 that we have today? So a lot of these things we'll need to sort out and start moving forward on. All right, is that helpful? Hopefully it's helpful. So obviously, we have a lot of work to do on all of these initiatives and Drupal 9 and that kind of stuff. And the tooling that we use matters a great deal, right? And so we would really benefit from modernizing our collaboration tools, make it a lot easier for people to get involved. And so the Drupal Association has really been driving this. And we've entered into, I guess officially entered into a collaboration with GitLab to move some of our tools to GitLab. I think this is very helpful not only for ourselves, but also to attract new people to Drupal. I mean, in many ways, the world has moved past sort of this patch-based workflows to pull requests and all of these things, and that's what it will give us. And I think it will be more familiar with people that are, that use modern tools today. And so I have a quick video recorded by Tim that shows you some of the new capabilities that are coming. So here goes.
The Drupal Association is pleased to announce a partnership with GitLab to update the developer tools on Drupal.org. We'll be rolling out this project in 3 phases. In the first phase, we'll be integrating GitLab's code viewing and code review tools into Drupal.org. As you can see here, you can view commits in the GitLab interface, scroll through the diff, and add comments. In the second phase, we'll be enabling merge requests and inline editing. In this example, you can see a new branch being created from the Drupal.org issue queues. This branch will be made available for collaboration in the GitLab interface by multiple Drupal contributors. In this first example, you can see a user navigating the branch to edit a file without having to clone a local copy. These edits can be committed back to the branch, and a comment will automatically be posted to the issue queue indicating the changes that were made. If another user wants to make changes, they could open another branch, but because Drupal prides itself on collaboration and single-threaded contribution, they can also work on the same branch to continue the work of the initial contributor. In this example, we now see a new user using the inline editor to make an additional edit or correction to the first user's contribution. Once those changes are committed, they're again published back to the issue queue. When one of the collaborators decides that they're ready for the changes to be merged, they can open a merge request from a button on the issue queue. This merge request is automatically generated in GitLab and available for review by other collaborators or by the project maintainer. Again, a comment is automatically posted to the issue queue to notify all followers that a merge request has been opened. The next step is for the maintainer to review the issue. When the maintainer signs in, they can view the merge request from the link next to the branch name in the issue, and when they decide the code is ready to be merged in, they can simply use the merge button in the GitLab interface. If necessary, they can revert the merge from the GitLab interface, or they can go to the issue to see that a final comment has been automatically posted indicating that the changes have been merged. This completes the cycle of contribution using the Drupal.org and GitLab integration. In the third phase of this initiative, we'll be evaluating additional features like GitLab's Web IDE, contribution graph, and CI and CD pipelines. All these changes are coming soon, so keep an eye on the Drupal.org blog.
So yeah. First time I saw this video, I was like, F yeah, this is cool. It's really cool. I knew this was coming, but when I saw it all come together in the video myself, I was really excited for what that means. So special thanks to Tim and Michael Hess, who has been very involved, and others as well. Great progress. I'm sure everybody's wondering, so when is soon? When will this be available? And the good news is it's going to come out in phases. The web-based code reviews will be later this year, which is exciting. And then the merge request and the inline code editing will be in the first half of next year, right? And then other things will come after that. So very exciting. So, you know, to sum things up, a lot of good progress that we're making. You know, if you think about all of the little snippets and all of the little updates that I gave you, a lot of things going on and a lot of things moving forward. Now, it really takes a village or a city to climb this mountain. It's literally the result of hundreds of people collaborating and working together. And in-person conferences like this are really important to make that happen. And so I have one more thing that I want to talk about. And so, as you probably all know, the next DrupalCon will be in Seattle. We've announced that. And while that's great, I'm very aware that there's a very strong need for the European Drupal community to be presented or represented locally. That there's a very strong need for bringing everyone in the Drupal community here together in person. And so obviously, as you probably all know, the Drupal Association canceled this year's DrupalCon because we needed to take a step back and figure out how to make it sustainable. And so we did all of that. And we talked to a lot of people, Megan and the staff, I should say, not me. I talked to a lot of people and figured out a plan. And so we're very excited to let you know that we're bringing back DrupalCon Europe next year. Woo! Gosh. I've got goosebumps on stage. As I said, we had to find a sustainable way to make it happen. And we found a great partner, Kony, and they're actually here somewhere. And Kony is there they are. They're a professional event organizing company, right? So this is what they do. They organize events. And so we have a license agreement with them. And the Drupal Association team actually spent a lot of time with them to help them understand what is DrupalCon. It's also the reason they're here, to see it with their eyes, you know, what a Drupal event is like. And I'm very happy to say that they really believe in Drupal. They've expressed a real desire to maintain the culture of our events as well. They want to make sure that DrupalCon meets the needs of its attendees, whether it's developers or business people. And so very excited to give that a try. And we'll try it in Amsterdam next year. The good news is also, if this works, and if this works well for us and for them, there is an opportunity to scale it further. As I said, they're a professional event company, they're a global company, and so there is an opportunity, not a promise or a guarantee, but there is an opportunity to, for example, take DrupalCon to Asia or Latin America and go to multiple regions in the world. So I'm very happy that the Drupal Association took a little bit of time to figure this out, because it's like taking a small step backwards to take multiple steps forward and to figure out a long-term solution. So very excited about that. Obviously, because we canceled this year's DrupalCon, you know, we wouldn't have an event this large in Europe. And so what has happened is that the local community, Drupal Europe community, has really stepped in and filled this gap. And they put together this conference, you know, Drupal Europe, which is, yeah. Yeah. Come on stage, the organizers. Wow. Woo. Thank you very much. Obviously, this is a massive undertaking to put on an event like this, and this wasn't part of any of their jobs, right? You have to understand that they put this together at night, in the evenings, on the weekends, and so awesome. And it's just one of the very special things about the Drupal project, you know, that people will just do that, you know? It's very special, so thank you very much to all of the organizers, and you can see them here with their photos as well. Last but not least, I want to thank one more person, and that is Megan. So Megan, maybe you can come on stage as well. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm sure you've all heard that Megan, who is our executive director of the Drupal Association, is leaving after 8 years of service. And Megan was our first official employee, and she was originally responsible for DrupalCon sponsorship. And so along those 8 years, she has sort of moved up the ranks until she was running the Drupal Association. And I can tell you that we wouldn't be here without Megan. Like, we literally would not be here without Megan. Megan has touched every part of the Drupal project, literally every part of the Drupal project. She really took the reins on how we organize Drupal events and Drupal cons, and we professionalized them. She made sure there was money to make them happen. She made sure they were organized well and people could show up, and it magically worked. She raised money to fund all of the things we're doing on Drupal.org. It's been quite amazing, and so we'll miss Megan. I'll miss Megan, but I'm glad that she's, you know, she has another opportunity, which is very exciting for her and provides her a great career path. And it's also in open source, so she's still part of the open source family. So thank you very much, Megan, for everything you've done for us. So that's what I have. There's no time for a Q&A, but there'll be a Q&A session later today at 5 p.m. In room 308. So I'm happy to take questions then. And I think what's next is a photo. Yep. All right. Thank you very much.
So this event would not have happened without you coming here. So now we're going to take a photo of everyone. Please, when you exit the rooms, follow our volunteers. They will help direct you. We're going to take the group photo outside of the building, behind the contribution area, outside. So we need to go to the side, go outside, and be there. Thank you.